China lands on the sun. No, they didn't. But landing on Mars is just about as believable. Let's take a look here. China lands on Mars in major advance for its space ambitions. Now, let me explain something here about China. Does anyone believe that? Okay. Now, it's like their CGI isn't even up to par, right? And now they're saying they're landing on Mars behind America. You know, like, I realize China, their economy is doing very good basically because America is feeding them money, right? And feeding them technology and feeding them these things so that they can kind of, they can do some things. But let's explain, how a communist system works and how the China system works. And the reason that they're able to build big, wonderful buildings and produce bajillions of iPads and iPhones and all this is because they have so many people that when people collapse and die, they can just put more people in there. They're not innovating anything, okay? They're just throwing bodies on the pile. But we're going to take a look here about this because I thought it was pretty laughable. And it was like on Sludge Report, the main headline for a couple of days was, "Oh, China's on Mars." I don't think really anyone cares. And it's up there with, China landing on Mars is up there with just the Earth being a spinning blue marble in space in a total vacuum. It's kind of up on that level. So you see here, we got the nice picture with some really bad CGI of kind of the rover that we sent to Mars because it has the same Johnny 5 little headpiece on it, right? And a really bad, it's like Chinese can't even operate Photoshop correctly, okay? And all these people are like, yay, okay. Well, what's behind these people to make those faces is these guys. Everyone look like you did something, or we'll send in Gestapo. China landed a spacecraft on Mars for the first time on Saturday, a technically challenging feat, more difficult than a moon landing. So why didn't they land on the moon? In the latest step forward for its ambitious goals in space. Plans call for a rover to stay in the lander for a few days for a diagnostic test before rolling down a ramp to explore an area of Mars known as Utopia Planitia. It will join an American rover that arrived at the Red Planet in February. Oh, they're going to do a little meetup. They're going to do a little meetup on Mars. How cute. How cute. All right. So did we just give them rockets and rovers to go up there and go do this? Because really, here's what's, behind the Chinese economy, right? We've this is what's behind the Chinese economy, and this is where their money goes. America's money goes to enslave the world with our military bases all around the world to say, buy our oil. You got to use the dollar. And China makes its billions of people make iPhones. And then when they can't take it anymore, they put up suicide nets around the outside of the buildings to stop people from jumping off. That's how China does their money. Yeah. And then there ain't no daycare in China. We just tie the kids up to the wall and, hopefully they don't get into anything, right? Yeah. There's China. Okay? China. Right? They're making jock straps for our American kids so they don't hurt their junk when they go and play sports in their high school. Okay? That's China. Technologically advanced China. China tech giant Foxconn to install nets to catch suicidal employees. I love Foxconn. Right? Rah! Now, I am something of a, used to be once upon a time 20 years ago, really enjoyed, the military books about hardware and jets and planes and all of this stuff. Okay? Really, you can tell how technologically advanced an actual people in an actual country is based on the type of military technology that they're using. And it doesn't count when it's given to them by somebody else. Okay? It doesn't count. Much like, in China, is like, yeah, you can produce 10 million iPhones an hour, but you cannot build one from scratch. There is no innovation. There's no nothing. Just put these pieces together like Lego blocks and send them back to America. That's the name of the game. You ask them to build an iPhone. The most they can do is take apart an iPhone and try and figure out how it works. Reverse engineering stuff. Let's take a look at some of these the China technology as far as military goes, because we all know that the military drives technology and innovation. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Here is the 11 best Chinese fighter jets of the PLA Air Force. Now, I realize this list is not including their best is very subjective and includes stuff from, 50, 60, 70 years ago. But I bet they're still flying that stuff over in China because they can't make their own plane. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. So this is their number one thing here, which is an obsolete Eurofighter design that was going to be the NATO jet. And they just opted to buy like F-15s or something. But they were going to produce a jet that was going to be for NATO that all these different nations were going to put together. And then, they just gave them to China. Number 2, the Chengdu J-10. This is an F-16 from America with some slight modifications to it. The F-16's been flying since 1960-something. The Chengdu J-7. This is a MiG-17, which was flying in the 50s. 1950s, 70 years ago. The Shenyang J-15. This, as I believe, is a Soviet MiG-29. This says this is inspired by the Su-33 Soviet fighter. Inspired by? Inspired by? Or do they just send you the documents to crank out your own? It's the Soviet jet. The Shenyang J-11. Yeah, this is the one that's the MiG-29. Another Chinese fighter jet to take cues from Soviet Russia Su line. It's Russian stuff. Shenyang J-8. This one right here is an American F-4 Phantom they used in Vietnam. This is what it is. This is the Chinese copy of it. It took off one tail fin, but it's the same thing. You can look at the cockpit. You can look at the air inlets and how they're doing everything. Shenyang FC-31. This is an American F-22 that I don't believe that they built. We probably just gave it to them. But it's an F-22. And look at the American F-22. It's the exact same thing. Sukhoi Su-30. This one, they're not even pretending to have built it. They're saying this is the Soviets gave it to us. The Su-35. This is the Soviets. They're not hiding it. The Russians gave it to us. All right. The Su-27. Again, the Foxbat, I think it's what it's called. This is a Russian plane. And the Nanchang J-12. Boy, that looks so modern, like it came right out of Vietnam or maybe Korea. Okay? So this is the innovation. You look at even the Israeli military, which is pretty up there. They build their own stuff. They use a lot of American goods, sure, but they build their own stuff. You look at France. France has its own stuff. You look at Britain. They've got their own stuff. Everyone's building their own stuff. And then you go to China, and it's just really crappy copies of what everybody else is doing. But apparently, when it comes to building rockets and rovers on Mars, they can do it just as good as America. You believe that? Just as good as America. China's Mars rover mission lands on the red planet. Oh, it's got a little Johnny Five hat and everything. That's not CGI. At least they tell you it's an artist's concept. They need a little bit better CGI. So this is like what they say the thing is made of. No directional thrusters anywhere in there. And then it's got a little poop cap. And in a little poop cap, there's supposed to be a parachute. And that's how this thing is supposed to land on Mars. There's no atmosphere on Mars. How is a parachute going to work? How did it work for the Americanos dropping a parachute? It's foolishness. Foolishness. Here's our latest BS scam, where we have this is supposedly a drone on Mars in 1% atmosphere. 1% atmosphere, you're flying a drone. And it's like, isn't this like look like the Badlands, right? Like out in the desert? Does it look like what Mars would look like? There's no atmosphere too. Why is it not black or dark in the sky without an atmosphere? Isn't the science tells us that our atmosphere is blue because of the oxygen and the nitrogen in our atmosphere. Well, on Mars you don't really have an atmosphere. What's going on there? I don't know. Just asking these questions. It's crazy. It's crazy. We're going to go to this one here where we talk. This is from a few years ago where it says it's 1.9% argon, 1.9% nitrogen, and 96% carbon dioxide. There's your atmosphere, and it's 1% the metric volume of what Earth is. You're flying helicopters and drones there, and you're using parachutes. China. You want to remind people what China looks like. And don't say that this isn't going on right today, and this article is from 10 years ago, because it is. It doesn't matter if it's from 10 years ago. I watch woodworking stuff from China, and it looks just like this. But they're landing on Mars. Well, have fun. What would they say? Cool story, bro? Something like that. I love Foxconn. I want to talk a little bit about communism and how that is. And people often say, well, communism, if it's done in a low enough population, it can really work. And it's like, no, it works worse. The thing is about communism is you have to have bodies. You have to have people to throw on the fire. That's to make communism work. You have to have bodies to throw on the fire to keep everything going. When you have that, your communism down to like 1,000 people, as soon as one group of people gets affected by communist decisions, the whole thing collapses immediately because there's no people to fall back on to take their place. Communism. Not that America is much any better, but I thought it was kind of funny that China wanted to jump in the ring and thought that they could, I think, hey, we can fool our population too. It's like this stuff never should have left their local internet. They can deceive their own people about how wonderful and great China is and all of this stuff. These guys are afraid of Winnie the Pooh. That's how kind of sad and pathetic China is. And the stuff that they do to people. They're like one of the worst abusers of human rights. And they are on the NATO Commission for Human Rights. I don't need to go back on all these China rant things, but, it's one thing for China to say, oh, yeah, we're sending up a satellite or this, that, and the other thing. But now they're saying you're landing on Mars? Come on, I realize the American economy ain't that great, but you China guys, come on. Come on. Come on. And with that, we're going to be out of here.